Music. Hello everyone, and welcome to a video where we dive once again into the fantastic world of dinosaurs. And also, we're going to have to use all our skills, because these dinosaurs come in pieces, so we're going to have to build them. Look, let's take a look at the cover. As you can see, we have a Velociraptor, a big Carnotaurus, and a flying reptile on the side. It tells us that these dinosaurs come articulated, which I love, because we'll be able to open and close the jaws of the big carnivores. Also, as you know, it comes disassembled in pieces, and we'll have to put it together using the screws included inside, and this manual screwdriver. You'll see how cool it is. It also tells us that there are 5 different dinosaurs, and here it shows that the one we got is the big flying reptile. So let's open it up so we can start assembling it. Wow, there are more pieces than I expected. Let's open it very carefully so we don't lose any pieces. Here we can see the big wings of our Pteranodon. Let's take the pieces out carefully. It comes in gray with some brown tones, and I hope it's easy to assemble. For now, I see a booklet here where we'll find the instructions. Yes, friends, look, we have the steps to follow for each of the dinosaurs. We got the Pteranodon, so we're going to have to follow all these steps. To complete the assembly correctly, we have another little bag here with the tools we'll need. These are screws, which I like, because even though they're made of plastic, they come in a metallic color. And we also have this manual screwdriver with a Phillips tip. To start, we use one of the central parts of our dinosaur. We're going to place this piece, which will be its tail, and on the other side, the front part, where we have its entire head with the upper and lower jaw. And with this very distinctive horn, now we place the other side so we can close it and make it fit perfectly. Look, we already have its body, with the tail and the head. However, this still isn't properly secured. We need to use the screws so that it stays completely secure. We simply place it, and now with our tool we turn it clockwise so that it fits perfectly and is secured. Now, we're going to attach the head part to the rest of the body. We also insert the screw, place the tip of our screwdriver, and turn it clockwise. If we wanted to remove it, we would have to turn it in the opposite direction. Now, we're going to attach its back legs. We make sure to put them on correctly, the right one on the right side and the left one on the left side. As you can see, it's quite simple, and the best part is that it's a lot of fun. It's like we're building a puzzle, but with a 3D figurine. Also, it allows us to move its joints. Look, if we tighten it more, it will be more secure, and if we tighten it less, it will be looser. I'm going to tighten this one here a little more. Perfect, perfect. Now, all that's left is to put on the most interesting part of our flying reptile, which are its wings. Also, as you can see, they're quite large. These come without screws, we just have to fit them into the hole and press. And that will also allow us to move the wings. Oops, friends, don't you see something strange? It looks like I put them on upside down. Let's try the other way. There we go, 100% complete. Here we have our Pteranodon. As you know, it fed on fish and was characterized by having a long beak and a horn on the back of its head. It had a wingspan of more than 2 meters, which means it was a giant of the skies. Since it mainly fed on fish, it used to fly over areas of seas, rivers, and oceans in search of food. Besides, I also really like all the details. It looks like a flying reptile, but it's actually a robot. I also like that it has all the teeth, both on the upper jaw and the lower jaw. It's super cool. We already have the first one. The first one, 100% completed. We'll leave it here and continue with another one. Let's see which one we have here. It's another Pteranodon, but since we want to make a different one, we'll keep looking in the boxes until we find a different one. Look, for example, here we have the great Tyrannosaurus rex. Let's get to work. We take it out of the box, and just like with the previous one, we take out the pieces very carefully. As you can see, the T-Rex comes in brown tones. Over here, I already have almost half of our great Tyrannosaurus rex assembled. Let's keep going and finish it. Look, we need to fit the top piece, and we also need to put a screw on the top. Let's tighten everything up. I like it because the figure is quite big, much cooler than I expected. Now we're putting on its hind leg. You know that the Tyrannosaurus rex was bipedal. It walked on its hind legs, which were very large and sturdy, while the front ones were much smaller and only had 2 fingers on each of them. Let's put it on. And as you can see, we only need the lower jaw. We shouldn't attach it with screws, we just need to fit it into the holes that are already there. We put it there, and now we have it 100% complete. Look how cool it is. The Tyrannosaurus rex was one of the largest carnivores that has ever existed on planet Earth. In addition, it had a strong and long tail. Sometimes it also used it to hit its prey and knock them to the ground, so it could eat them. With its jaw closed, we can see that its teeth fit together perfectly. It had a total of 60 teeth, some of which could reach up to 20 centimeters. In addition, its front legs were smaller, and just its skull alone could measure more than 1.5 meters in length. We'll leave it here to continue with a different one. Since it's articulated, we can also put it in different positions, which I really like. Let's see which one we have here. We're going to get the great Carnotaurus, another big carnivore, and it comes in red. And here we have our great Carnotaurus. Let's continue with the assembly, just like with the T-Rex. We place this piece on top and we're going to secure it with one of the screws. We put it in place and turn it clockwise. As you know, the Carnotaurus is characterized by the 2 horns it had on the top of its head. According to experts, the horns were not very big, so it couldn't use them for defense. It's not known for sure what it used these horns for. In addition, it could reach an approximate length of about 10 meters. Now we place its hind legs. As you can see, it was a bipedal dinosaur. Also, its jaw was impressively large, and its head was so big that it had a unique feature. And that's because Carnotaurus had the sides of its skull flattened, so it could lighten the weight of its head. Now, let's place the last piece, which is the lower jaw. As you can see, Carnotaurus had a very distinctive jaw shape. A curious fact is that even when it closed its mouth, the teeth of the upper jaw were always exposed. Super cool! It could easily face the great Tyrannosaurus rex, another one. Here we already have 3 great carnivores. We have the Tyrannosaurus rex, the Carnotaurus, and the Pteranodon, a flying reptile that was also a carnivore. Let's see which one we get now. Well, we have the first herbivore, the only one among all of these. It's the great Triceratops, a very famous dinosaur because of the horns on its head. Let's take it out. And as you can see, it comes almost entirely in dark brown. We already have half of our Triceratops assembled here. Let's put on the top part. As you can see, it was a pretty big and robust dinosaur. It could reach about 9 meters in length from the tip of its beak to the end of its tail. We put on the top part, and now it's time to attach its legs. As you can see, it was a quadrupedal dinosaur. We need to place the bigger legs at the back. Since it had bigger hind legs, it could often put all its weight on the back part. To climb up tree trunks and look for food, like tree leaves, let's now place the front legs. Also, Triceratops had a strong beak at the tip of its mouth. Look, here we can see it. It was something characteristic of herbivorous dinosaurs. Do you know what it was for? They used it to dig in the ground in search of food, like roots, for example. And look, now we have it perfectly assembled. I like it because we can also turn its head from side to side, but its mouth is not articulated, unlike the carnivores we've seen before. It also had a long tail. The horns on the top could reach 1 meter in length. And obviously, it used them defensively, meaning to protect itself from predators that tried to attack it. It lived during the Cretaceous period, more than 65 million years ago. And let's see why. Because we still have to see the last dinosaur. It's another carnivore. It's the great Velociraptor. Velociraptors were dinosaurs, carnivores that weren't. They weren't too big. They could reach about 2 meters in length from their mouth to the end of their tail. Also, they were quite slim, which allowed them to run at high speed. Even though they weren't very big, they were able to catch large prey. And that's because they hunted in packs or groups. Also, an interesting fact about the Velociraptor is that it had a long tail that it used to be able to change direction. This time, we can move it up and down, but actually it was to the sides where it moved it to go from right to left. We just have to put its jaw in place. Look, friends, as you can see, it was bipedal. However, its front legs were quite long, and it used them to help itself when eating, grabbing the meat and bringing it to its jaw. Although its teeth were not very big, they were very sharp. It was a great hunter, together with its whole pack. Also, the figurine is quite large, comparable to the great Tyrannosaurus rex or the Carnotaurus. But in reality, the Velociraptor was much smaller than these two big carnivores. And now, my friends, we've finished today's video. Here we have the 5 dinosaurs we've managed to build. We have 4 carnivorous dinosaurs and 1 herbivorous dinosaur, the great Triceratops. Also, here we have some extra screws left over, just in case we lose or break any. And here is our hand tool, so we can assemble and disassemble it as many times as we want. If you liked today's video, you can help me out by giving me a super like, a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any videos. And now it's time to say goodbye to you all. I'll see you in the next video with more amazing dinosaurs. Bye!